In small-town Brighton, an accountant was found dead with a car running, a notebook missing, and $2.4 million gone from the books. They said it was suicide, but what if it was a cover-up, signed off with silence? Brighton, Illinois, population 5,623. The kind of town where people still leave their doors unlocked and everyone knows your license plate. Jason Whitlow, 42, was one of the quiet ones, a senior accountant at Pinecross Behavioral Health, a mental health nonprofit with a reputation as clean as its books. Until the morning of September 12th, Jason's body was found inside his garage, the engine still humming. He'd rerouted a garden hose from the exhaust to the car's window. A sticky note on the dashboard read, "It got too big. I couldn't stop it." The local coroner listed it as suicide, carbon monoxide poisoning. But across town, at the state comptroller's office, something didn't add up. $2.4 million. Missing from Pinecross's quarterly accounts. The police had a body, the nonprofit had a scandal, and within 72 hours, the case everyone wanted to close started to open wide.
They said it was suicide, that it was financial pressure. But that's not Jason. He was the one who caught other people's mistakes, not the one who made them. We just hit a turning point, paid off the second mortgage, talking about finally taking a trip. He always wanted to see Glacier National Park, but for weeks, he was off. Not distant, just distracted. Like something was following him, breathing down his neck. He started locking his laptop, even from me. He'd stay up until 3 or 4 in the morning, cross-referencing spreadsheets like he was chasing something that didn't want to be found. The night before it happened, I came downstairs and found him standing by the fireplace, holding his journal and a USB stick. He didn't say anything, just stared at me like he was already saying goodbye. 3 days earlier, I read an email he left open. It was addressed to himself. All it said was, "If anything happens, start with Meyer, line 83. He buried it deep." Dr. Carl Meyer, the man who gave Jason a bonus last spring, had access to those accounts. He also hired the assistant who died in that house fire, and he made Jason the financial sign-off for nearly every one of those suspicious transfers. You don't leave behind a suicide note and a USB drive titled EXECALM unless you want someone to keep going. Jason didn't quit. He lit a fuse. The question isn't why he died. It's who needed him to.
Jason's final email led investigators to line 83 of Pinecross's internal budget. Behavioral Initiative Fund, an innocuous title, until forensic accounting revealed 5 separate transfers totaling $620,000, each routed through ghost vendors and shell foundations. One traced to Meyer Family Wellness, a private LLC owned by CEO Dr. Carl Meyer. Dr. Meyer issued a statement of complete denial, then disappeared from the press entirely.
Line 83 wasn't unusual at first glance. Behavioral Initiative Fund. That's the kind of label nonprofits use when they want flexibility without raising flags. But once we ran a forensic trail across 6 months of transactions, the truth started bleeding through. We found 5 disbursements, totaling $620,000, each routed through shell vendors that, on paper, looked legitimate. But they all funneled back to one personal health reimbursement account. That account belonged to Miranda Klein, Dr. Carl Meyer's executive assistant. Here's the part that should have stopped the presses. Miranda died in a residential fire 2 months before Jason. But the account stayed active. It was still receiving funds, even signing off on transactions. Jason found that. How do I know? Because his backup logs show he flagged line 83 4 different times, each time with a different annotation. misrouted, duplicate, check with CFO, and then finally, fraud, with a question mark. In my line of work, when someone puts a question mark next to a $2.4 million leak, they don't last long. Either they turn the question into a formal report or they disappear. Jason didn't make it to step 2, but he left just enough behind to get us there. His XEXA claim file included redacted records, cross-referencing staff initials with transaction batches. The metadata? Last edited 4 days after his death. That means someone accessed it after he died and altered it. The cover ledger wasn't a suicide note. It was a kill list with open boxes.
Jason was quiet. Good guy. Didn't talk much, but when he did, it was always polite. We've been across the street from each other for nearly 8 years. My wife baked him cookies after his mom passed. He gave her back the tin a week later, cleaned and wrapped in a bow. That's the kind of man he was. But something shifted about 3 weeks before, he stopped waving in the morning. Used to mow the lawn every Sunday like clockwork. But then he missed 2 in a row. Just let the grass go wild. That wasn't Jason. That Wednesday night, I was walking Scout, my dog, right around 9:45. It was already dark, but I saw him out in the driveway. He had this fire pit going, real low, just embers. And he was standing there, holding a folder in one hand and what looked like a USB drive in the other, just watching it burn. I called out to him, said, "Everything good, Jason?" He looked over, kind of startled, then nodded. But it wasn't a real nod. More like a reflex, like he didn't want to talk. The next morning, I smelled it before I saw it. Burnt paper, chemical edge, not like leaves or logs. It smelled like ink and bleach. I walked past the fire pit and saw these little black curls of paper. Some of them had writing on them, numbers, charts. Couldn't make out much, but I remember a blue post-it note. It was stuck to a page that hadn't fully burned. Said something like, ledger, second transfer. Then the garage. Door was closed. I thought he might be working on the car again. He always had engine trouble. But that smell, that wasn't gasoline. That was final. Later, I heard from the cops that it was ruled suicide. But here's what bothers me. The fire pit had more than just papers. There were pieces of a manila envelope, half burned, like he tried to destroy it, but changed his mind. And that envelope? It was on the seat beside him, not even fully singed. If Jason wanted to erase something, he could have done it. But he left pieces, fragments, just enough to say, look deeper.
Later that week, investigators found a Dropbox folder titled EXE Claim in Jason's cloud drive. Inside, a PDF labeled the cover ledger with 6 boxes. CFO, Assistant Director, Senior Finance, crossed out in red, Chief Medical Officer, Legal Counsel, Internal Auditor, each unnamed, each tied to transaction codes leading back to the missing $2.4 million. Jason Whitlow may have died alone. But his final file speaks louder than any confession, because in the Brighton ledger, death might be the only honest number. Next episode, the assistant's fire. Who was she? What did she know? And why was her account still active after she was gone? Justice doesn't always walk into the courtroom, but in here, the system remembers everything. This is Courtroom Executable, case logged.